All right, welcome to today's Explainer. We're going to take a pretty wild journey into the future of digital privacy and urban infrastructure. Look, if you've ever felt like you have zero control over your own online identity, well, you're absolutely not alone. Today, we are diving deep into a groundbreaking approach called Trustchain. It uses decentralized digital IDs to basically give us back our privacy and ultimately help build the smart cities of tomorrow. Let's get into it.
So, right off the bat, who actually owns your digital identity? Take a second to really reflect on how you currently log into online services or even interact with your city's infrastructure. Are you constantly clicking that login with Google or login with Facebook button, relying on these massive tech gatekeepers? Because when you do that, you're trusting centralized corporations to vouch for who you are. Honestly, in a way, you're not owning your identity. You're effectively just renting it from them.
Now, any identity system out there needs what researchers call a root of trust. Think of it like the ultimate digital notary that creates and binds your ID specifically to you. But with the centralized model, whether we're talking traditional web certificates or those big tech platforms, that root of trust is totally monopolized. And this centralized authority, it leads to a massive lack of transparency and really opens the door for the abusive monetization of your personal data. But enter decentralized IDs. With these, you control your data locally. It's transparent, it's highly secure, and it completely removes that central vulnerability that the tech giants are currently exploiting.
Okay, here's our roadmap for today. We're going to start with the digital ID dilemma, then unpack what decentralized identifiers actually are, see exactly why Trustchain stands out from the pack, look at building the system, walk through testing a digital license, and finally wrap it all up with the smart cities of tomorrow.
All right, part one, the digital ID dilemma, the monopolized root of trust.
So this monopolized root of trust, it's a massive, universal pain point for architects trying to design new public services. They really hesitate to rely on these centralized systems, and for good reason. Monopolizing certification authorities severely restricts openness. It basically funnels the control of user data straight into systems that are just primed for abusive monetization. Plus, modern privacy laws, we're talking GDPR in Europe, the LGPD in Brazil, they impose incredibly stringent requirements on how personal data gets processed. So sticking with these centralized authorities for every single digital interaction a citizen makes, it's quickly becoming this massive legal and ethical liability. We absolutely need a system that puts privacy first.
Moving on to section 2. What are decentralized identifiers?
Okay, so at first glance, this whole interconnected ecosystem of nodes, documents, and registries, it might look a bit complex. But we can actually break it down into familiar, everyday concepts. It's really just a network where trusted providers can issue a credential, but, and this is the key, you hold the keys.
A major element here is what we call verifiable credentials. Think of these as the exact digital equivalents of your physical documents, like your passport or your driver's license. So instead of abstract code sitting on some corporate server halfway across the world, these function as literal cryptographic cards right there in your local digital wallet, fully 100% under your control.
And within this whole web of technical terms, the DID subject is, well, simply you. It's the person, the organization, or even the smart device that the identifier points to. The absolutely crucial point here is that in this decentralized model, you, the citizen, sit securely at the very center of the new system. No single central authority holds all the cards anymore.
Which brings us to section 3, why Trustchain stands out.
Now, Trustchain actually isn't the first attempt at solving this. Pioneers like Uport, Sovereign, and Hyperledger Indy, they were true innovators in the space. But they often require the creation and maintenance of dedicated blockchains or these highly complex custom networks just to govern them. And honestly, that's expensive. Plus, if the consortium running it loses funding, the entire network risks shutting down completely. Trustchain's brilliance is that it doesn't try to reinvent the wheel with the brand new blockchain. It's totally free, it's open source, and it simply piggybacks on the already existing, heavily secured Bitcoin peer-to-peer network. And to put that security into perspective, it anchors itself to a massive 800 exahashes per second. That is the sheer computational proof-of-work power of the Bitcoin network right there. By leveraging that existing infrastructure, Trustchain ensures that any retroactive alterations are mathematically and economically infeasible, even for giant corporations. It provides this immense level of security, allowing users to independently verify public keys without needing some middleman to manage the network for them.
All right, section 4, building the system.
To prove this isn't just a bunch of academic theory, researchers at Unijui
actually built a Trustchain node from scratch, and they did it fast. First, they gathered testnet Bitcoin, or TBTC, just to pay for the basic transaction fees. Second, they published a root DID ID publicly, legally anchoring their main authority to a specific, verifiable date. Third, they issued downstream DIDs to local agencies. Fourth, they set up a secure TLS HTTP server using tools you might know, like Node.js and MongoDB. And finally, they installed the Trustchain mobile app on an Android device. The really amazing part here? A university undergrad and a PhD student deployed this entire thing in just 60 hours. Talk about proving how incredibly accessible and ready to deploy this tech actually is today.
Moving right along to Section 5, testing a digital license.
So, the researchers set up a real-world simulation where a local licensing agency issues a digital driving license. First, the server generates a QR code. Then, the citizen uses their Trustchain mobile app to scan it, which instantly verifies that the server is legitimately part of their specific trust network before they even accept the credential. But here is the really powerful part, the device-to-device verification. If someone needs to check your license, you can share only specific attributes and redact the rest, meaning you can prove you have a valid license to an officer or prove your age to a bouncer without handing over your home address or any other sensitive, unneeded personal data. You are in total control.
Finally, Section 6, Smart Cities of Tomorrow.
This quote from the researchers perfectly illustrates exactly where we're heading. They say they'll use this very system to issue decentralized IDs to students at a smart campus they are creating and to citizens of Santa Rosa City for accessing smart city services. Think about that. This isn't just lab theory or some abstract concept anymore. It is actively being deployed right now to empower real citizens. It's just incredibly exciting to see technology moving straight from academic papers directly into the hands of the public, giving them true autonomy.
So as we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with a question to chew on. How would you navigate your city differently if you truly owned your digital identity? Imagine swiping into public transit, registering for city services, or proving your credentials without ever giving a tech giant a single piece of your behavioral data. It fundamentally changes the power dynamic of the entire internet. Thank you so much for joining me today as we explored Trustchain and decentralized identities. Keep asking questions, keep protecting your data, and I'll catch you next time.